Committee on State and Local Government will come to order. It is Tuesday, May 13. The time is 12:35. The first item on the agenda is Senate File 2884. Senator Frentz, whenever you are ready, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members. I know that we're all busy here, and I appreciate you scheduling the hearing. I'm here to present Senate File 2884, which is essentially the framework for the pension omnibus bill that will be coming forward. My hope, Mr. Chair, is that one of your members would be willing to move it to finance, but let me give you a little bit of prep first. Members, what's before you at the moment is the MSRS Administrative Changes Bill. So as you know, the Pension Commission, LCPR, bicameral, bipartisan, makes recommendations to the State Government Committee. What we're doing here is taking the framework, putting amendments on that have already been agreed to by the LCPR. So what I'm proposing in these amendments, there are about 4, Mr. Chair, are things that the Pension Commission has already supported. However, and this is a big however, without the joint pension target members, we cannot make the benefit improvements that are considered critical to the Pension Commission's work. That includes public safety and educators. As we all know, we're waiting for joint targets, and the joint pension target is one of those that represented the greatest distance between the House and Senate. That is a different hearing. With that, I have a DE1, Mr. Chair, and I would appreciate it if a member of the committee would be willing to move the DE1. It represents those things that have already been approved by the LCPR.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. Senator Carlson moves the adoption of the DE1 amendment. Oh, Senator McQuaid. Sorry. Senator McQuaid moves the adoption of the DE1 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The DE1 is adopted. Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members, for that. There are 4 other amendments. I just want to briefly touch on them in case you have questions. I would like to offer or have someone offer Senator Pappas's 2A amendment relating to secure choice.
All right. Thank you, Sir Frentz. Senator Gustafson moves the A2?
Yes.
The A2 amendment. The 2A amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The 2A amendment is adopted. Senator
Thank you,
Frentz.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. There are summaries, Mr. Chair, if members want to these amendments. 2A relates to the Secure Choice Program that Senator Pappas passed, and some of the changes relating to the executive director. With that, Mr. Chair, I would like to have someone offer the 3A amendment, which relates to amortization.
Thank you, Senator Frentz. Senator Gustafson moves the 3A amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The 3A amendment is adopted. Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. At this time, I would like to make a few comments on the 5A amendment. Several members may be watching the probation officers work group. This was a proposal that came forward to try to talk about benefit improvements and a career rule for our probation officers. What the advocates have done to their credit, Mr. Chair, is failing an agreement. They've agreed to do a work group and study, and the 5A amendment represents about 99.5% of that agreement. I'm told there are a few tweaks to that. If the bill goes to finance, Mr. Chair, we hope to have those ready by then. Therefore, I'm hoping that members would consider adopting the 5A amendment.
Thank you for that, Senator Frentz. Senator McQuaid moves the 5A amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The 5A amendment is adopted. Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And then finally, I have the LCPR's outstanding nonpartisan staff here on my right in case there are questions. The 8A amendment is the corrections, clarifications, and technical changes to statutes governing public pensions, just like we do in both chambers, Mr. Chair. Those that are paying attention to the detail come forward. The 8A amendment is those, and I have Ms. Wilson and Ms. Lincheski here. If members had questions about those technical changes, I would present to the committee that they are non-controversial, and so asking for adoption of the 8A amendment, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Senator Frentz. Senator Gustafson moves the 8A amendment. All those in favor say
Chair.
Senator Drazkowski.
Mr. Chair, are we going to be offered opportunity to discuss these, or
Yes.
are the skids greased that much that it's all downhill from here?
No, we will have time to discuss on the bill. But did you have a comment you wanted to say?
Well, I appreciate the first opportunity we've been offered to discuss it here this afternoon. I don't have a lot of content, but I'm wondering if Ms. Lincheski could represent the amendment to the committee.
Yes, Ms. Lincheski. Welcome to the State and Local Government Committee. Please state your name for the record, and you may proceed. Senator Drazkowski, did you have a question for the testifier, or did you want to hear?
Mr. Chair, I would just ask Ms. Lancheski if she would to go through the amendment and tell us what it does.
All right, Ms. Lancheski.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Drazkowski. My name is Susan Lancheski. I'm the Executive Director of the Legislative Commission on Pensions and Retirement. I'll do a very quick article by article work through here of the 8A amendment. Article 11, and it's 11 because it follows on the DE. Article 11 updates the statute that established the LCPR. It eliminates a reporting requirement that we haven't complied with for many years, really because the webpage now does the reporting on a continuous basis. Article 12 amends statutes governing the para statewide volunteer firefighter plan, corrects and supplements the restatement of Chapter 353G that governs that plan, which was enacted in 2024. We detected a number of omissions and corrections that needed to be made, and so these are in the amendment. Article 13 clarifies who is eligible to transfer from the Minnesota State IRAP, Individual Retirement Account Plan, to TRA. This was another initiative that was enacted in 2024. We are now clarifying some questions that came up regarding who is eligible. Article 14 corrects and clarifies language enacted in 2024 to ensure that the fire state aid and the supplemental state aid go to the right fire departments. So this is something that we worked through with the Department of Revenue, State Auditor's Office, and para, and this is the result. A few changes to those statutes. Article 15 is for the State Board of Investment. It revises a reporting deadline to allow time to receive an audit report and eliminates a redundant report. Article 16 relates to the para defined contribution plan. It adds the Eden Valley Rescue Squad that had been omitted from that statute. They have had a benefit, or they have been able to participate, but now that corrects that omission. Finally, Article 17 makes corrections and clarification to several statutes, including an important one that says that when a relief association terminates, firefighters must become fully vested, but only to the extent funded, which was language that hadn't been in the original statutes. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Lancheski. Senator Drazkowski, any follow-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lancheski. I don't have any follow-up, but Mr. Chair, I would just ask for the committee's sake and the people of Minnesota's sake that we get an opportunity to discuss these amendments before they get slammed through.
Certainly, thank you, Senator
Thank you.
Drazkowski. All right, with that, Senator McQuaid moves the A8 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The A8 amendment is adopted. Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. That's all the amendments that I proposed to this bill. Again, want to be very clear, we're waiting on joint targets because of the impact on some benefit improvement work that we're doing that includes public safety and educators. Having said that, this is to benefit the staff, to send it to finance, where it will certainly wait until the joint targets are known, and then the LCPR will meet, pass those recommendations, and any opportunity that you want to ask questions about these amendments now, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, I'm asking for this committee to send this to finance.
All right, thank you, Senator Frentz. And members, any questions or comments on the bill as we are looking to send it to finance? Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess, Senator Frentz, I didn't know if I quite caught that correctly. You're telling me the LCPR hasn't looked at these amendments yet that we just passed?
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Lane. No, these amendments have been reviewed and passed by the LCPR.
Okay.
However, Senator, I want to be very clear. There is some additional work to do on the money part, which is benefit improvements for educators and public safety. That work LCPR has not done yet, and without joint targets, we're not able to move forward.
And
Senator
thank you,
Lang.
Mr. Chair, just another general knowledge question, I guess. Is the House and the Senate close on these bills as it goes through? I mean, that's really, I mean, it makes it a lot slipperier for our amendments to get through on both sides of the aisle if we have agreement across both houses, so.
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Lang. Glad to report that in order for any amendment or provision to pass in the Pension Commission, it has to receive a majority of votes from both the House and the Senate. So House membership, led by Representative Lilly and Representative O'Driscoll, have approved all of these amendments already.
All right. Members, any other members? Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Lencheski, I think I'll just, on the A8 amendment that you just walked through, Article 13, which is the IRAP to TRA transfers. I'm just quick reviewing on that. How many people would that actually affect? Can you kind of, is this like more like a bunch of one-offs, or is this, there's two pension plans merging? I just tried to read it real quick and I kind of got lost, so if you could just walk through that with me, please.
Ms. Lencheski.
Thanks, Mr. Chair and Senator Barr. Every year, the TRA and Minnesota State work together to produce a report. We did receive a report in, I believe, February. There were over 200 applicants to do this transfer, and I think only about a dozen or so actually qualified to do the transfer. So there's a lot of interest in it right now, but they are being screened to make sure that they had an election opportunity at some point, either when they were hired or when they were granted tenure. And if they did have that election opportunity and they turned it down, then they were not, they are not considered eligible now. If they did not ever have that election opportunity, then they are eligible and they can make the transfer now.
Senator
So
Barr.
it's a small
Oh, sorry.
group, I think, at the end of the day, in terms of the numbers that are going to be eligible.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Lencheski, what's the fiscal impact then, or is it unknown, or can you kind of dial that in, or does it transfer from one to the other and it's not really a big, the fiscal piece, if you could talk about that just a little bit, please.
Ms. Lencheski.
Mr. Chair, Senator Barr, there was about $1.4 million set aside in an account for this purpose. When people elect the opportunity here, take the election, transfer, their IRAP account goes over with them to TRA. It pays for a portion of the benefit that they are now going to receive. They are eligible to up to $10,000 out of that account to help them pay for the purchase of the past service credit. So that account will last for some time, and then there's no additional money going into that. It's a one-time amount.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So is the pool of people that would be eligible for this, is that like a new pool every year, or is this, there's nobody getting put into this transfer piece in the future, and this will kind of clean this up and will be a done deal then, right? And then a follow-up question, once this is finished, whatever's left in that set aside, that pool that was set aside, what happens to that money?
Ms. Lencheski.
Mr. Chair, Senator Barr, there were some record-keeping problems at Minnesota State back at the time that the technical and community colleges merged into the state system. Those record-keeping problems have been resolved. So these all relate to that. These are people that should have gotten it many years ago. We don't expect that there's going to be people going forward because they are on top of this now and they are making those election opportunities available. I think that the remaining funds, if there are any at the end, well, there actually won't be. It doesn't expire. It goes on. It goes on for as long as there are people making this election.
Thank you,
Senator
Mr.
Barr.
Chair.
Thank you. Any other member questions? Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Senator Frentz, I think I heard you correctly that we're going to pass this on to finance, and then when there's a global joint target, an agreement made on the remaining pieces, you'll bring that amendment to finance. Did I hear that correctly?
Senator Frentz.
Mr. Chair and Senator, yes, exactly. And we hope that sooner rather than later.
Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I agree with you, Senator Frentz, and that's the appropriate process. I'm just going to, because I have the opportunity in front of me and won't again, I don't sit on the Finance Committee, I do just want to speak briefly to the topic of pensions, but the part that we're leaving out. You know, I have a lot of teachers that live in my district. We all do, right? They work at our schools in our community. And I hear pretty loudly and clearly, right, that we're looking for reform, particularly for educators. And maybe it is fortuitous that I have the energy chair sitting in front of me, but I will take this opportunity to say that there are things that we do not collect revenue on, data centers being one of them. That is a large portion of tax revenue that we could have, like $232 million a biennium and then projected to grow, right? That could fund something like teacher pension reform. And so I will offer to you here, but also publicly, my support for those educators and saying that, you know, a decision not to do something like that is a choice, right? It's not that there's no place to find that revenue. It's a choice not to. And I would think that the billionaires who, you know, own our lives could maybe chip in for our teacher pensions.
Thank you. And Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious if, and I understand, Senator Frentz, we're going to find out what targets are and so forth, but the bill as amended that we have before us, what is the cost of that? Do we have any, I don't see any financial documents here.
Senator Frentz.
Mr. Chair and Senator Drazkowski, glad to report there is no fiscal note as it sits. These are simply policy provisions that were adopted or absorbed into the plan, so there's no general fund cost to what's in front of you. The joint targets that we hope to see, the difference between the Senate position and the House position is quite substantial. That would be a general fund cost if and when we reach those targets.
Senator Drazkowski.
So, Mr. Chair, Senator Frentz, Ms. Lancheski, so there's provisions in here that affect eligibility and other things. I can't imagine there's no fiscal impact to the bill. Do we have, how is that analyzed and when is it analyzed?
Let me try that one.
Senator Frentz or Ms.
Sure.
Lancheski?
Well, Mr. Chair and Senator, I promised the chair that I would hustle, but since you asked, the way pensions works in Minnesota is that we have these silos of funds. Teachers, for example, TRA, they're here. And so when we make changes for eligibility, that does not mean that the state puts more money into TRA. It simply means that the rules TRA operates by changes. So when we make benefit improvements, for example, we would like to do a career rule for teachers. That has a cost because our basic deal with the funds is that we will not cause additional money to come out of those silos without the state paying for it. So what you have in front of you now has no cost. If we propose benefit improvements, it'll be because that's the amount. And these changes, you know, for example, the MSRS COLA increase, cost of living, very important. But it is absorbed by the plan, and actually that is brought to us by the plan. So they maintain a separate funding status, MSRS, para, TRA, and there's no general fund cost to the bills in front of you.
Thank you,
Senator
Senator.
Drazkowski. Thank you. Senator Cwodzinski.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Frentz. You just referenced career rules for teachers. Is that an exhaustive list, or is it something you can summarize in a couple sentences for us?
Senator Frentz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, former Teacher of the Year, Steve Cwodzinski. We have proposals for a career rule that would allow a teacher to say once they've taught a certain number of years and reached a certain age, somewhat like Rule of 90, that they can receive an unreduced pension benefit. We do not have agreement for that, and the cost varies depending on how much of a benefit you get. So the career rule is our goal. Without knowing the amount of money, it's impossible for us to say, to Senator Drazkowski's point, that the state has enough money to fund it. Obviously, the earlier the retirement, the more the benefit improvement, the more the general fund cost to it. By the way, I should note, for state government committee members, Senator Gustafson is the chief author of that bill, if you want to follow up with her offline.
Thank you. Any other member questions or comments? Seeing none, Senator May Quaid moves that Senate File 2884 as amended be recommended to pass and re-referred to the Finance Committee. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senate File 2884 as amended is recommended to pass and re-referred to Finance. Next up, we have Senate File 119. Senator Cwodzinski, whenever you are ready to go, you may proceed. The floor is yours, Senator Cwodzinski. Folks, can we turn down the volume a little bit as Senator Cwodzinski is
I
presenting?
can't blame it on something I said.
Senator Cwodzinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have the A1 amendment. Should I introduce that now?
Senator Cwodzinski moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The A1 amendment is adopted. Senator Cwodzinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members, for taking time out of your busy lives to hear this bill. As you may or may not know, in Washington, D.C., every state gets 2 statues to be in Statuary Hall. And some of those statues have been there for over 100 years now. And all the years that I led student trips to D.C., over 20 years, and I've led 5 adult trips to D.C., and we stop in front of the 2 Minnesota statues, one in Statuary Hall and one in the Visitor Center. No one ever knows who these 2 people are. Now and then there'll be an adult on the adult trip who will know one of the 2 members of Statuary Hall. And if the statues in Statuary Hall that each state sends are supposed to be representatives of the state and the legacy and the culture and the proud accomplishments of the state, therefore, the statues should be, in my opinion, people that more people know who they are. And so our current 2 statues are Henry Mower Rice and Sanford. I don't even know her first name. I apologize. Thank you. Alumni of the University of Minnesota, I'm guessing, where she was a professor. Anyways, so I believe that it's time to replace the Rice statue with a statue of Hubert Humphrey, who had, again, the greatest impact on the nation as far as a Minnesotan goes. And so, just a couple recent changes that have taken place. They replaced James Harlan from Iowa with Norman Borlaug about 10 years ago. And I take offense to that a little bit because Norman Borlaug did all of his revolutionary work here in Minnesota. So for them to claim him as their statue, I think we maybe missed the boat on that. But all the wonderful things that maybe arguably he was the most influential person of the 20th century as far as saving humanity from starvation. And they replaced John Campbell Greenway in Arizona with Barry Goldwater. They replaced Uriah Rose, again, maybe arguably who are these 3 people, with Johnny Cash last year. And one of my favorite statues about 10, 12, 13 years ago, they replaced California with a Ronald Reagan statue, and that one is in the nation's rotunda. So they moved that from Statuary Hall into the nation's rotunda. And what I love about the Reagan statue is there's a really thin layer between the statue and the pedestal, and they ground up remnants of the Berlin Wall and layered that. Yeah, nice reaction. And I just love that storyline of him and the metaphor for that. And so the reason I'm a big Humphrey fan is everything that you guys already know, the stories, the background. I love in '61 as he met as a senator with Khrushchev, and Khrushchev and him were laughing and had a great meeting, and Khrushchev at the end points to a map of the world and says, "So where do you live?" And Humphrey points to Minneapolis, and Khrushchev circles the map and says to his staff, "Don't bomb there," when the bombs fly. And so, and on Humphreys, and this is just members, as I wrap up, and in excitement for your questions, I hope that someday, 100 years from now, some Senate committee is pondering putting a statue, maybe replacing the Humphrey statue with a statue of you, because you had an impact upon Minnesota and humanity in general that is going to far outweigh your brief tenure here on the Capitol grounds. But I love on his tomb, Humphrey wrote, "I've enjoyed my life, its disappointments outweighed by its pleasures." Nice reminder for this time of session. "I've loved my country in a way that some people consider sentimental and out of style. I still do. And I remain an optimist with joy, without apology about this country and about the American experiment in democracy." And I think that rings true for myself and maybe the members of the committee. So with that said, I anxiously await your questions or comments.
Thank you. Members' questions or comments? Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The question is for Ms. James. Ms. James, this is a memorial resolution. Can you tell us, can this bill be used for anything other than what it is on its face before us today? Can it be a vehicle for anything, or what can they do to this thing as it moves around?
Ms. James?
Mr. Chair, Senator Driscollsky, and members, a memorial resolution needs to travel on its own. I don't know whether another memorial resolution could be added to it, I guess, but it can't be a vehicle for a regular legislation.
It cannot.
No.
Thank you.
Senator Driscoll, Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick comment. I see you smiling. You're waiting for something really cute, so I'll oblige you. The reason that Iowa has to use somebody who did all their work in Minnesota, it would be really inappropriate for our friends to the south to put an ear of corn up there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Barr. Senator Johnson-Stewart.
Thank you, and thank you, Senator Barr. I understand there's an ear of corn statue that may be for sale in Rochester.
All right, seeing no further discussion, Senator Cwodzinski moves that Senate File 119, as amended, is recommended to pass and re-referred to rules. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. Senate File 119, as amended, is recommended to pass and referred to rules.
Thank you,
The
Mr.
motion
Chair and
prevails.
members.
With that, we are adjourned.